Hey y'all, so in today's video I will be giving a tour of the backyard. Since last week's video just consisted of the front, I said that I would get the back done, and it's not the perfect day to give a tour of the back, but it's a realistic tour of the back. It's not all tidied up just perfect. The lawn isn't mowed. We had a big storm roll through last night. We have a lot of tree debris, and we've got about 3 inches of rain last night. So a lot of people in Oklahoma City still don't have power as of today. I think they said after the storm rolled through, there was like 60,000-ish people between here and some of the suburbs of Oklahoma City without power. So we are just thankful that we lost power for about 5 minutes last night when the storm rolled through and nothing more. But with that being said, let me just flip around my camera and we'll get started on this tour. So you can see all of the debris here. It could use a really good sweep and blow, but nonetheless, it's still looking pretty good back here. And while it's overcast right now, it just was overcast, and I came out here to film this video while I had this window, because right before I got home this afternoon, it was 100 degrees and it was sunny. So it is extremely humid out here, and honestly, we're just thankful that we've got 3 inches of rain because the ground soaked it up like crazy. The flower beds soaked it up. We had been really dry and really hot. So I still need to get some things. The wind blew that hanging basket down from right over here last night, so I haven't hung that back up yet. And everything on the back patio is looking pretty good. Considering how hot it's been. This is a pretty shady area. This gets a little sun over here, and I still need to take, this is some Scottish moss that's not looking so great, and then these are some sansevieria that will be going inside. Those are some new indoor plants. And then I have projects here that still need to get done. Like I said, I didn't come out here and tidy all of this up back here because this is a real life scenario. I always have plants sitting around. I always have stuff that needs to get into the ground and just haven't. So this is kind of just a real world scenario here. But this flower bed, if you followed along for, let me get a better shot here. If you followed along for some time, you know that I replaced all of these box. Pretty much we tore everything out of this bed and we started all over. So we got some winter gem boxwoods in the back. I did try to transplant some things, but some things struggled. And so I just decided, what the heck, I'm just gonna get a brand new hedge. So I will trim this up into a square hedge at some point once it starts to grow. I will replace this hose reel with a hose link. Hopefully in the near future. Hose links are a little bit expensive. They're an investment, but they're definitely worth it. When we do get that hose link, I'm probably going to move it over here somewhere, and it's going to be going on a post. It's not going to be attached to the house. So our water is right there underneath that window box, so it has to be relatively close to that. But I do think that I want it on a post like we have over in the front yard, and then more off-centered than directly in the center. I don't really particularly love looking at that water hose. But the variegated ajuga down here looking very good. The coral bells and the heuchera looking good. The holly fern, obviously just going for it. There was a holly fern that is over here right there that is just a little bit behind that I thought I lost this winter, but it made a comeback. The window box is looking pretty good. I have some pentas up there. They need to grow a little bit to start showing some color to match some of the other pentas over here in the pots. So this year my annuals of choice were just penta, really. And so all of these pots have pentas. I need to repaint these pots. I did show in a video probably like over a year ago at this point how I'll just spray paint the terracotta pots because terracotta pots are cheap. And then when I find ceramic glazed pots on Facebook Marketplace, I always snag those, but I'm always needing pots, and so I'll just take some terracotta pots and spray paint them. And you'll have to do that once a year typically because they will breathe and dry out and get wet, and you just have to repaint them. So hydrangeas here and here, some boxwoods here. I transplanted these 2 boxwoods from the pots that I have back in front of the raised bed area. I decided to put some new ones there, some much larger ones, and so I transplanted those here. These hydrangeas are transplanted, and they used to be right here when we first moved in ish. And then if you've tagged along for quite a while, we actually mounted them up back there, way back in the back by the fence, to get them overwintered so that we could transplant them when we were ready to start on the yard this spring. So we did get the grass down and the hollies in last fall, but that was pretty much all we got done because we ran out of time and it was getting too cold. So these beds set bare back here from like right here all the way back and over pretty much the whole winter. The pentas and the Dichondra Silver Falls and the hanging baskets are doing really well. These are some custom wood racks that we had made. I did recently kind of tidy up some of this stuff, needed to get some stuff in the ground. So the Carex here, and then there is the Halcyon hostas tucked in there. I need to get some purple coral bells, and I might get some lime green coral bells as well to tuck in there just to kind of tie everything together. Again, lined with Carex, same thing. The Halcyon hostas tucked in there. These will get quite a bit larger so that they'll fill in some space. These beds right here, this one, and the one that I just showed you that's right there under that large red bud. These beds are extremely hard to dig in, so there's so many tree roots and I didn't want to damage them, so I chose some smaller plants because they were easier to plant without running into all the roots. There's some autumn ferns back there tucked in. More of some of the same repeats here. Carex, Halcyon hostas, Little Henry, Spirea right there. And all of these will mature in size by quite a bit. Some more autumn ferns tucked in, and there's some larger autumn ferns there. I did get this hedge of winter gem boxwoods planted last week, finally. They might look a little bit crooked, and I really wanted them to kind of angle with this bed. But again, dealing with a lot of tree roots from this red bud, and just had to kind of get them as straight as possible, and then I will shape them up as they grow and they will look very straight. And I can also fix that curve once we start getting some growth on those boxwoods. We'll underplant those with something, I'm just not sure what yet. But I love this view right here. This is my favorite view when you walk in. We always use our driveway to walk. We always use our back door. So I love this view when you walk in and you're just kind of, you're surrounded by the canopy of red buds and the maple, the Japanese maples, and you walk onto the patio. So this patio is all new. Basically everything back here with the exception of the red buds and the larger mature trees are brand new. We pretty much took everything out when we moved in just to kind of make it more our style, how we use our backyard, and we absolutely love it. We sit back here all the time, just as we did in our old house. It's a very comfortable sitting area, and we like to look back here at this view. So we have some hot spots in the yard, as you can see, some of that yellowing, but again, we have fescue and it's just been really hot. That's just kind of what you deal with in the summertime when you have fescue. I can see I need to do some weeding here, but I'm not going to point that out because I don't want anybody else to see it. The oak leaf hydrangeas were there. Still have quite a bit of underplanting to do over here. Again, I'm going to tuck some heuchera and coral bells in there, as is over here. We still have a long ways to go on these back beds. A lot of plants need to mature. We planted all of the larger boxwoods that are round. If the boxwoods are cone shaped, they were here, and we either trimmed them up or transplanted them to a different spot. Recently, I added the blue fescue and the lavender bubbles allium right here, which is getting ready to burst into bloom, and I'm really excited about that. I think this is the Kieko peony. I'm not really sure. I kind of stuck those in the ground because I needed to get them into the ground. I don't know if those are going to stay there long term, but peonies are easy to dig up, transplant, even divide the tubers. Got some phlox here, so some Siberian iris there. The Weigela that's right there, I'm going to keep that in a tight form. I actually need to prune that. That Weigela blooms red, and I don't particularly love the red. The hanging basket's looking pretty good. Still undecided on what we're going to do here with this guy. Really undecided, might trim it up pretty tight as well and see how I end up liking it. The Tough Stuff hydrangeas here, I knew not to believe the tag that this could take full sun. While it's doing really well, you can see that it does have some sun damage on it and it just wilts. But I mean, again, I knew that they would do that, but I just thought, you know what, I'll try. This is a really hot spot in our backyard, and you know, once I get them established, I think that they will be okay. I've tucked some yarrow in here as well. I have a pollinator house from Beehive. That's also the same brand as my Beehive. Got the teddy bear magnolia here that's doing pretty well. It has a little sun scald on it on the leaves. As you can see, this again gets hot afternoon sun. That, not doing so well. I'm honestly shocked. I'm not sure why. That's a barberry. And barberry are typically pretty easy. I planted that at the same time that I planted the one back there, and then there's another one over here that you can't see. That's not my favorite variety of barberry. I really like the golden barberry that's smaller in stature, that has that really pretty lime green color. The other barberry does as well, but it just gets a lot larger. And then back here, I've had repeats of some things. We do have some things struggling. Again, I planted these recently, so I knew that some of these would struggle. We've had 100-degree heat, and so it's just kind of the risk you take when you're planting stuff in this heat. We have trumpet vine that is growing in between the fence. The vines just kind of beat me down here. Honestly, we got rid of the, I'm just totally blanking on the name right now, wisteria, and we got rid of that, but we still have the Virginia creeper, and we are still trying to get that addressed. But the Virginia creeper is again growing in between our side of the fence and the neighbor's side of the fence. We both have the pretty sides of the fence, so it has that perfect haven. And honestly, I'm just not even gonna fight the trumpet vine. I'm just gonna let it go and then make sure that I continue to weed it in places that I don't want it. Recently, as in like a day ago, I transplanted those boxwoods that were up there in the position where I showed you the boxwoods that I just planted the hedge in, that said I wanted to get them shaped up a little bit more and follow the curve of that flower bed. Those came from up there. Donated a couple of the other ones that were in that bed to somebody local. And really, I haven't hardly done anything here other than I've transplanted that boxwood, and that boxwood, and trimmed that one up. This is my next project, and I have a lot of work to do on that. The raised bed area is looking really good, and I'll show you that here in a minute. The fuzzy wuzzy lambs are really struggling. I need to cut that back, but the boxwoods and the pots looking really good. Have some more cool as ice fescue there. I think it's the Tamara peony. And then my debate on this area right here is, do I do another boxwood hedge? This gets direct hot afternoon sun, and I don't want everything back here to be so formal with a boxwood hedge, but I think a boxwood hedge would look pretty good right there. But I also don't want to lose those barberries right there, because from the direction of our patio, I really love how the barberry looks there with the pop of green. And if I do a boxwood hedge there, I'm going to have to do one there as well. As many of you know, boxwoods are not cheap, so that is an expensive project. Have the globe artichoke there, planted that boxwood, underplanted with some things, still need to fill in there quite a bit. And then, excuse the hose, just how it is, it's always laying out because I'm having to water back here every day. You can see now that the sun is coming out, and this gets a lot of hot afternoon sun. So last year when I direct sowed pretty much everything, I direct sowed most of these things and then volunteer some stuff self-seeded from last year. This all back here has to be really tough because this gets hot afternoon sun. Here is my Amaranthus jungle. These things are extremely tall. They are massive. next year, Amaranthus is getting its own bed, and I am going to thin it out greatly. That's like 4 plants back there ish. I've thinned everything else out, and then Amaranthus is popping up everywhere. I decided to go ahead and leave this Amaranthus here, and then this one back there. I trimmed up down below because the purple coneflower that I self-seeded wasn't getting quite enough sun. So I didn't really want to lose the Amaranthus, even though I've pulled it from a lot of places so far. I thought, well, this got to this point, so I'll just allow this to continue to grow, and then I'll just trim the bottoms off and be able to use for cut flower arrangements. Some self-seeded feverfew here. If I can get my camera to work with me. Self-seeded feverfew. Have some yarrow that I self-seeded in here. And I'll take my camera off of my stabilizer and go kind of one by one on these beds so that I can show you a close-up. Sometimes my stabilizer doesn't love to cooperate. My beehive is doing very well. I added a second deep. For those of you that aren't bee people, that means that I just put another box on top of the existing box, and they are multiplying like crazy. That is called bearding. It's just really hot here, and that's a way for them to keep their hive cool. But let me just take my camera off the stabilizer really quick, and I'll give you an overview of everything that are in these beds. All right, so the volunteer self-seeded feverfew. You can see down here, I have the yarrow, and most of you probably already know at this point, but I just went and scattered a ton of purple coneflower seeds here. Purple coneflower seeds are supposed to be cold stratified, meaning they need a cold period to germinate. I found that not to be the case because I did not cold stratify any of these seeds, and I'm gonna have so many purple coneflower, I'm not gonna know what to do with them. Again, volunteer Amaranthus that I'm gonna have to figure out a solution for the Amaranthus seed to keep it contained next year. I'm probably going to have to put some sort of really fine netting because it blew everywhere. It was in every single bed at one point, and I've pulled most of it. Volunteer self-seeded from last year's seeded plants. All of the zinnias. The zinnias are looking really good. This is such a tough plant. It can take all of the direct afternoon sun heat. Would never not plant zinnias. They're just that good. They're an awesome cut flower. I have many varieties here. Let me see. I forget what the varieties were exactly, but let me pull the tags out. Queenie Lime Blush is this section here. And then this next section is Queenie Formula Mix. So that's why you see it's very similar, but it's more of a mix. It has more oranges in it than this front section. This whole back section is Bennery's Giant Purple. Grew this last year. Really love Bennery's Giant Purple. And my bees are finally starting to work some of these flowers back here in these beds. As the nectar flow starts to slow down, we are getting more foraging closer to the hive. So usually bees don't forage super close to their hive unless they are forced to. Have some massive buds on these dinner plate dahlias. I'm really excited about these. This is the, I think, Emery Paul, yes, and this is just massive. And here's the other Emery Paul. This is all that is done, so I'm not sure what's up with that. And then I also have, sorry, all of the rain has covered those, but the Cafe, oh, I forget what it is, Cafe Supreme Dahlia. So this dahlia really struggled at one point, and it wasn't producing, and the leaves were just like totally shot on it, and it wouldn't bounce back. So I cut it, and you can see all the new growth that are coming off the stalks. This is Lavender Perfection Dahlia here. One of my favorite dahlias. Not a huge, tall growing dahlia, but I really love it. I love the dark purple stems on it. I think it's pretty unique. Let me see what this dahlia is. Can't remember off the top of my head, and for some reason I can't find the tag. Here it is. This is the Labyrinth Dahlia right here. Hollyhocks are doing well back there. More Amaranthus that's coming up in the hollyhocks. And honestly, a lot of this Amaranthus that I'm seeing, it's not all the same variety. So I think it's just like, I don't know, Amaranthus seeds are so small, it would certainly be hard to package them and get them all in the exact place that they're supposed to go. But hanging baskets, again, Penta's looking really good. Have a fig tree over here. This Amaranthus is just massive. And I did also order another Amaranthus, and I had like 2 germinate. So you can see here, these are so far behind that they're really struggling, but I'm gonna let them go. I've kind of cut a hole in this area so that they can get some sun, but that is Coral Fountain Amaranthus, I think. Nope, Hopi Red Dye. Anyways, that struggled with germination and it was really far behind. Finally got some Cosmos going. Not super pleased with the Cosmos thus far, but they will catch up. I'm certain of it. And I was always disappointed with this variety over here and its germination, and that's the Radiance Cosmo. Have some bee balm over here, some alyssum over there, and nasturtium that's really struggling. Have a bunch of lavender right here. This is fernleaf lavender, and I'm pretty sure this is my new favorite plant. I love the texture of the leaves. They're like that bluish grayish color, and they have that fern-like leaf, which I've never grown this before, and I absolutely love it. And it is just absolutely going for it. So it's around orientation flight time, usually around 4 to 6. They'll be going crazy at the front of the hive like this. You can see that these small bees that are, not the small bees, these young bees that are kind of doing figure 8s to get into the hive, that's called orientation flights. So yeah, that is pretty much it. This celosia is all self-seeded from last year, as is this. So I just kind of let it go for it. But that is all that I have for this video. I am sweating profusely, and so I'm going to go inside and cool off. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.